He saved a starving alien cub. He didn't know its mother was a deadly alien huntress in heat. The wind howled across the empty mining moon of Virex 9. Red dust danced through the air like tiny spirits, swirling around broken metal and long-forgotten machines. This place was dead. Except for one man. Eli Ward sat alone in his small repair shack, hands blackened with grease, fixing a broken oxygen pump. He had been living here for over a year. No family, no friends, no noise, just the silence of space and the sound of old machines trying to survive. He liked it that way. Eli was once a soldier, a good one, until war left him with scars, both on his body and deep inside. So he chose silence, isolation, far away from the noise of Earth and its endless wars. But today, something changed. As the twin suns set behind the jagged hills, Eli heard something strange, a soft whimpering sound, almost like a baby crying, but not human. He stepped outside, squinting against the wind. The sound was coming from behind a stack of scrap metal near the fence. Carefully, he approached, and then he saw it. A small creature, covered in golden fur, lay curled in the dust. Its eyes were too big for its face, glowing faintly in the fading light. It looked weak and hungry. One of its legs was twisted unnaturally. Blood matted its side. Eli stared at it, unsure. It was clearly alien, and clearly just a child, but it was a predator. He could tell by the sharp teeth and clawed paws. Still, it was dying, alone, in pain. He couldn't walk away. With slow movements, Eli crouched beside it. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly, not knowing if it would understand. The cub flinched but didn't move away. It was too weak to run. Eli gently reached into his jacket and pulled out a protein bar, the only food he had on him. He broke it in half and held a piece out. The cub sniffed, then snatched it with tremb. Ling paused and devoured it like it hadn't eaten in days. "That's it," Eli whispered, watching it eat. "You're all right now." For the next few minutes, he sat beside it. He didn't touch it, didn't force anything, just let it finish the food. Then, to his surprise, the cub looked up and made a sound. It wasn't a growl, it was almost a purr, like it was thanking him. Eli's heart did something strange in that moment. It didn't hurt, for once. He stood slowly. "Stay here, I'll bring water." But when he returned with a small bowl, the cub was gone. He searched for hours. Nothing, no tracks, no blood, just empty wind and red dust. By midnight, he gave up. Maybe it had died, or maybe someone took it. Back inside his shack, Eli sat in the dark. For the first time in a long while, he felt sad. Not for himself, but for that little thing out there. He'd wanted to help, and now it was gone. He turned off the lights, went to bed, but he couldn't sleep. Something felt off. A strange pressure filled the air, like the atmosphere was too heavy. The walls of his shack creaked. Tools fell from shelves. And then, a growl. Deep, low, powerful. Eli's eyes snapped open. He sat up in bed, heart pounding. Another growl followed, closer this time. Then a thud, a heavy step. Something, or someone, was outside. He reached under his bed and pulled out his old sidearm, still loaded, still cold in his hand. Slowly, he walked to the door, held his breath, listened. Silence. He opened the door, just a crack, and froze. Two glowing amber eyes stared back at him from the darkness, tall, too tall to be human. Shadows shifted behind the eyes, forming the shape of something big and strong. Then, out of the shadows, it stepped forward. A towering alien female, feline in shape but with armor like black stone, eyes like fire, and fangs that glistened in the moonlight. Her golden fur matched the cub's, her voice came out like a rumble from the earth itself. "You fed my child." Eli didn't move. He couldn't speak. The mother had arrived, and she wasn't alone. Eli didn't dare breathe. The creature in front of him stood over 7 feet tall, her broad shoulders wrapped in black, bone-like armor that glistened in the moonlight. Her feline face was elegant but fierce, slitted eyes glowing amber, 2 long fangs peeking beneath her full lips. Her golden fur shimmered under the twin moons. Her powerful tail slowly waved behind her like a serpent ready to strike. He'd seen aliens before, on screens, in briefing rooms during his time in the military. But none like her. She looked regal. She looked dangerous. She looked like someone who could kill a man with a flick of her wrist. And yet right now, she wasn't attacking. Not yet. "You fed my child," she repeated, her voice a low growl wrapped in something ancient, like thunder inside a whisper. Eli kept his sidearm low, not aiming. Slowly, he raised his other hand. "Your cub was hurt, starving. I didn't know it was yours. I just helped." The alien female took a step closer. Eli's pulse slammed in his ears. He resisted the urge to step back. He'd learned long ago, predators sense fear. And this one wasn't just any predator. She was a queen in her own right. "The weak are tested," she said, her gaze fixed on him. "Only the strong survive. Yet, you intervened. Why?" Eli frowned. "Because I could. That's it. I saw pain, and I acted." The silence that followed was colder than space itself. She tilted her head slightly. "You are not like the others of your kind." "I've been told that," Eli muttered. She looked past him, into the open door of his shack. Her ears twitched. Then she sniffed the air, sharp, sudden, precise. Her eyes narrowed. "You are alone, no pack, no soldiers, no weapons beyond the primitive metal in your hand." "Correct. And yet, you showed kindness to a predator's blood." She stepped forward again. Eli finally took one step back. "I didn't know the cub would lead to this." Her gaze shook, or pained. "This?" "This," he said, motioning toward her entire towering form. "Feels like the beginning of something big, and I have a strong feeling it's not good for me." A long pause. Then, to his shock, she smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was sharp, hungry, like a lioness entertained by a mouse with too much bravery. "You're not wrong, human." Eli felt his shoulders tighten. "But you are not prey," she added. "You stood your ground, you answered with truth, and you fed what was mine." Before Eli could ask what that meant, the bushes rustled. From behind her, the cub emerged. Its wound had been cleaned, and now it bounded toward Eli with surprising energy. It growled softly, but not at him. It was excitement. It came close, brushing its head gently against his leg like a cat greeting a friend. Eli stared at it, then up at her. "That's your child?" "My firstborn. And now it's bonded to you." Eli blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" She crouched now, eye level with him. Her feline eyes didn't blink. "In my culture, when a cub is saved by another, it bonds by scent and memory. It recognizes the protector as kin. You have become that. I didn't mean to. Intent means little, she said coldly. Now the bond exists. And what does that mean? She leaned in just enough for him to feel her breath, warm and scented like wild herbs and blood. It means, human, that by our laws, you are owed a debt. A debt? Eli said, backing half a step. She stood up again, tall and dominant. The wind tugged at her fur and armor, making her look like a goddess of war carved from gold. Alien clans honor life debts with blood or gift, she said, but for one who saves the blood of a warrior matriarch, the repayment must be equal. I didn't save you, just the cub. Same blood, same bond. Eli felt the weight of something bigger than he could understand pressing down on him. He had simply given food and water to a dying creature, and now he was being claimed by a species that lived by honor, law, and something else. Something deeper. She walked past him now, right into his shack like she owned it. Eli turned quickly. Excuse me? She examined the walls, the bed, the half-repaired oxygen unit. She ran a claw along the desk, sniffed the stale air, then turned toward him. You live in silence, no tribe, no heat. You are not claimed by any female. I didn't realize I needed to be. On your planet, perhaps not. On mine. Her eyes locked onto his. Things are different. He didn't like the way she said that. What exactly are you suggesting? She took another slow step forward, her voice lowered to a purr. You are alone, and now you are bonded to my blood. You fed my child, so I will feed you protection, strength, and warmth. Eli blinked. I don't need. She raised a hand. You have already been chosen. By who? She didn't answer aloud, but her eyes, they told him everything. He'd thought the cub had been the dangerous one. He was wrong. The real danger was her. And now she had decided Eli Ward was hers. Eli wasn't sure when he lost control of the situation. One moment he was standing in his doorway, staring at the terrifyingly beautiful alien warrior who claimed he was now bonded to her bloodline. The next, he was walking beside her across the harsh, cracked desert, leaving behind the safety of his shack and everything familiar. Beside him, the cub trotted happily, occasionally brushing up against his leg like a pup. Its wounds were healing fast, too fast. Eli had seen enough alien tech during his deployment years to guess there was advanced biology at play, probably genetic enhancements. Predators like them didn't survive on luck. They survived on blood, and now, apparently, on favors owed. Rakira walked ahead of him with the silent confidence of a queen who feared nothing. Her armor shifted with her steps, light yet clearly made for war. Her long tail moved behind her in slow waves like a signal flag warning anything nearby not to come close. She hadn't spoken much since they left, just a single sentence. You will meet the rest of the blooded. They must see you. That had been an hour ago. Now, distant cliffs rose from the sand like jagged teeth, hiding shadows in their cracks. Rakira paused near a narrow canyon entrance. Eli noticed strange markings carved into the stone, claw-like symbols, some deep enough to have cracked the rock, warning signs. This is your last chance, Eli said, finally breaking the silence. I go in there and your people don't like humans. What then? Rakira turned slowly. Her golden eyes narrowed, but not with anger, amusement. They will not like you, she said simply. They are not meant to, but they will respect what is claimed. Eli blinked. And I'm the one that's claimed? You fed my cub, she said again, like that answered everything. Then she added something else, more quietly. And I chose you. Before he could respond, she turned and entered the canyon. Eli exhaled slowly. Yeah, This is gonna go great. The canyon opened into a hidden valley, one that satellite scans would miss. Tents and stone buildings blended into the red rock, and the air smelled of smoke, fur, and iron. Dozens of creatures moved through the camp. Aliens, like Rakira, all feline and proud, some with darker fur, others scarred from battle. And all of them stopped the moment they saw Eli. He felt it instantly, the tension. Eyes followed him like he was a target, hands tightened on weapons, low growls rippled through the camp, even the cub moved closer to his leg, sensing the shift. Then a voice cut the silence. "What is that doing here?" A male stepped forward, taller than Rakira, with dark red fur and burn scars across one eye. His armor was heavier, thicker, and covered in bones. He looked like someone who'd killed many things and wanted to add one more to the list. Rakira didn't slow her pace. "This is Eli," she said coldly. "He saved my blood. The cub lives because of him." The male's eyes dropped to the little one who growled back at him, then back to Eli. "He is not one of us. He smells soft." Eli resisted the urge to reply, barely. Rakira stepped between them. "He is under my protection. Any claw raised against him will answer to me." The male's eyes flicked to her. Protection or possession? Something electric passed between them. History, rivalry. Then the male grinned, showing sharp, stained teeth. "So the queen chooses a soft skin now? Has she truly fallen so far from the mountain?" Rakira didn't flinch, but her voice dropped into a lethal whisper. "Say that again." For a moment, the whole camp stood still. Then, with a huff, the male turned and walked away, but not before muttering loud enough for everyone to hear. "The humans infect everything, even our matriarchs." Rakira turned to Eli. Her expression had changed. Cold fury now softened with something else, worry. "You will not let at my side," she said, "until the debt is complete." Eli glanced around. "And when will that be?" "When you no longer walk alone," she said. He frowned. "That is not an answer." She stepped closer. "It is the only one I will give. Bonded or bait." Later, Rakira led him to a circular tent carved into the rock. Inside it was warm and surprisingly clean. Animal furs lined the floor, and glowing blue stones lit the walls. She motioned for him to sit. "I am giving you shelter," she said. "Do not mistake it for comfort." Eli sat carefully, the cub curling beside him. "Why me?" he asked. "You've had warriors, fighters, soldiers. I'm a broken-down mechanic with too much history and not enough patience." She watched him quietly. Then, finally, she spoke. "My people are dying. The war clans are shrinking. Males fight for dominance. Females protect what little is left. But no one cares. They survive for survival's sake. That cub, my only one, was left behind by my own warriors during a retreat." Eli felt a sting in his chest. "They abandoned your child?" "They said the child was weak, not worth slowing down for." She clenched a clawed hand. "You," Eli warned, "slowed down." Silence. He didn't know what to say to that, so he said nothing. Rakira knelt before him, just a few inches away now. The glow of the stones lit the sharp lines of her face. She looked tired, but still powerful, still herself. "I do not need a warrior," she said. "I need something else." "What?" She tilted her head. "A reason to hope again." His breath caught. Then her voice hardened. "But hope makes you weak, and in this place, weakness dies fast." She stood and walked to the entrance. Rest. Tomorrow, they will test you. Eli's stomach sank. Test? Blood must earn its place, even borrowed blood. And with that, she left the tent. Eli didn't sleep much. The tent was quiet, but his thoughts weren't. He replayed everything. Rakira's words, the alien male's hostility, the cub's affection. None of it made sense. What started as feeding a hungry child had turned into something else entirely. Now he was deep inside a war camp where one wrong move could get him killed. By morning the tent flap opened, and the cold air rushed in. Rakira entered with the same silent power she always carried. Her presence filled the space. Behind her, 2 other warriors stood, male and female, both armed, both expressionless. "Get up," she said. "The trials begin now." Eli stood slowly. "You still haven't told me what that means." Rakira stared at him. "It means you will prove to them why I did not kill you." The arena of stone. The trial ground was a circular pit surrounded by large stone cliffs. Warriors lined the edge, perched on rocks and ledges like predatory birds. Their golden or dark fur caught the wind, and their armor gleamed under the rising sun. At the center was a flat space carved from the rock. There were no weapons, no shields, just him and the others. Rakira stepped onto a platform above the arena and raised her voice. The growl in her throat echoed across the cliffs like thunder. "This human stands in our camp by debt of blood. He fed my cub. He carries the scent of protection, but blood alone is not enough." The crowd growled low in agreement. "Let the first trial begin." A younger warrior jumped down into the arena. She was lean, fast-looking, with sharp blue eyes and twin blades on her back. But she didn't draw them. She moved like a dancer, but one trained to kill. Eli turned to Rakira, who nodded once. "Survive or don't?" "Great. No pressure." The first trial, the dance of evasion. The warrior didn't attack immediately. She studied him first, like a cat playing with a mouse. Then she lunged, lightning fast. Eli dodged on instinct, barely avoiding her sweeping leg. Dust exploded around them. His heart thundered in his chest. She struck again, and again. Eli wasn't trained for this. Years ago, maybe, but not now. Still, instincts didn't forget. He rolled, ducked, sidestepped. She landed a few blows, hard ones, but he stayed up. The crowd murmured in surprise. Rakira's eyes narrowed with interest. Finally, the female warrior stopped. She bowed slightly, then leapt back to the cliffs. Eli collapsed to one knee, gasping. "Trial 1, complete," Rakira called. The crowd roared, some in approval, some in anger. But Eli was still breathing. The second trial, the test of truth. An elder stepped forward now, an alien with white fur and eyes that had seen war long before Eli was born. He carried no weapons, just a bowl of blue liquid and a single stone tablet. Eli was brought to him and forced to kneel. The elder spoke in the alien tongue. Then Rakira translated for him. "This is the test of truth. Drink, and you will speak only what you believe. If you lie, your body will betray you." Eli looked at the bowl. "You want me to drink alien truth juice? Seriously?" Rakira said nothing. With a sigh, he took the bowl and drank. It tasted like ash and cold metal. At first, nothing. Then heat, like fire in his chest, crawling through his veins. His mouth opened on its own. "Ask," he croaked. The elder spoke in the alien language again. Rakira translated slowly. "Do you desire to harm this clan?" "No," Eli said quickly, and the heat faded. "Do you carry weapons in secret?" "No." "Do you feel loyalty to our matriarch?" Eli hesitated. The heat surged. I don't know yet. The fire calmed. The elder nodded. The crowd murmured. Final question, Rakira said, her voice lower. Do you feel desire for her? Eli blinked. His heart punched his ribs. The fire rose again, aggressive, swirling inside him. He looked up at Rakira. Her face was calm, but her ears twitched slightly. Yes, he said quietly. The fire disappeared instantly. The elder stood. He speaks truth. Rakira turned away, but Eli saw it, just for a moment, a flicker of something on her face. Satisfaction. The third trial, the challenge of fire. The last trial was simple and brutal. A long bridge of burning stone stretched across a canyon. Beneath it, fire vents from the planet's crust spat bursts of flame. Eli had to walk it while being watched. If he slipped, the heat would roast him alive. No ropes, no safety, no tricks, just steps. One by one, his boots hit the first slab, and the heat slapped him like a wave. Sweat poured from his neck, eyes back. Every step forward made him dizzier. Blisters rose. His legs trembled. But above the fire, he heard something. A sound. The cub was crying out, calling to him from the other side. Rakira stood beside it, her arms crossed, face unreadable, and something clicked in Eli's mind. They weren't testing his strength anymore. They were testing his will. Did he have the heart to reach her? Did he want to? Yes. One foot, then another. He stumbled, fell to a knee, his skin blistered. But he didn't stop, until, finally, he collapsed in her shadow, coughing smoke and fire. She knelt beside him. For once, no guards, no rules. You passed, she whispered. He looked up at her through burning eyes. You always knew I would, didn't you? Rakira didn't smile, but she didn't deny it either. Later that night, Eli lay in his tent, bandaged, exhausted, but alive. The cub curled beside him again, warm and purring. Then the flap opened, and Rakira entered, alone. She stood in silence, then knelt. You proved them wrong today, she said. You proved me right. Eli looked up at her. So, what now? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached out and gently placed her hand over his heart. You belong to the clan now, she said. No more trials. No more doubts. Then, softer, quieter than he'd ever heard her voice before. But I did not expect to feel pride, or something more. She stood before he could speak. But just before leaving, she whispered, You are not prey, Eli Ward, not anymore. Blaine's heartbeat echoed in his ears. The jungle was alive, not just with predators and prey, but with whispers of politics, betrayal, and ancient vows. In his arms, the cub purred softly, unaware of the storm unraveling around them. But across the dark grove stood Velshara, wounded, regal, and fierce. And behind her, from the shadows of the obsidian trees, emerged warriors, not human, not hers. Enemies. Hand her over, human, growled one of them in a language that sounded like claws dragging across steel. The queen broke sacred law. She and the cub must return with us. Don't, Velshara warned, stepping in front of Blaine and baring her fangs. You touch him, you touch me. Blaine didn't understand the language, but he understood body language, and Velshara's tail was twitching in a way that meant kill. One of the warriors stepped forward, metal gauntlets gleaming, his eyes burning with an eerie blue light. Queen Velshara, you know the decree. No cross-blood, no contact with the outliers. The cub is a disgrace. She's my daughter, Velshara snapped. Blaine blinked. Wait, her daughter? He looked down at the cub, her small fingers now clutching his shirt. Somehow he had assumed it was a boy. But it didn't matter. What mattered was what Velshara had just admitted. The warriors moved forward again. But Velshara didn't step back. She stood taller, and Blaine saw it clearly now, the scars along her side, the mark of the crown burned across her shoulder, the subtle hum in her bones that spoke of something more than just strength. She was royalty, exiled, hunted, and choosing to stand with a human. The warriors charged. Blaine barely had time to dive aside as energy blades slashed through the jungle floor, trees exploded, vines caught fire, and the cub screamed in his arms. Velshara roared, an ancient sound that shattered the air like thunder. She launched at the attackers, claws ripping through armor. One warrior went down in a blink, another lost his helmet to her strike, revealing a face twisted by some kind of experiment, part machine, part beast. "Run!" she yelled, slamming a knee into her enemy's gut. "I'm not leaving you," Blaine shouted back. She glanced at him mid-fight, surprised, but there was no time to argue. Blaine sprinted into the trees, the cub held tightly. Blaster fire hissed past him, branches snapped, the ground shook with chasing footsteps. He tripped once, scraping his arm, but didn't stop. He found an outcrop of rocks ahead, a small hollow beneath it. He ducked inside, shielding the cub with his body. The world was chaos. Velshara fought like a storm, but she was outnumbered. 5, maybe 6 of them now. Her breath came in bursts, blood streaked her side, but she didn't fall. She was fighting for her child, fighting for him too. Then came the voice, cold, distant, mechanical. "You are not meant to exist, human. You contaminated a bloodline. The child is an abomination." It wasn't one of the warriors. It was coming from above, broadcast from some kind of floating drone. Blaine gritted his teeth. She was starving. I gave her food. That's not contamination. That's compassion. You will die for it. The drone's targeting light landed on his hiding spot. But before it could fire, Velshara hurled her blade through the air. It struck the drone with perfect aim. Sparks exploded. The machine spun, cracked, and fell in a burning arc. And the moment it hit the ground, the jungle went still. No more attackers. No more energy blasts. Only silence. Velshara limped toward him, one arm clutching her bleeding side. Blaine crawled out, the cub still safe, eyes wide. Velshara dropped to her knees before them. "I am no longer queen," she said softly. "I am hunted by my own. I have no planet, no throne." Blaine placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have her," he whispered, nodding to the cub. Velshara looked at her daughter, then at him. "And you?" He hesitated. He had no home either. Earth was gone. His ship was destroyed. His only family had died on a forgotten outpost. "You have me," he said. That night, the 3 of them hid in the jungle's deepest part. Velshara used the last of her energy to call an ancient friend, an old pilot loyal to her bloodline, who owed her a life debt. A ship would come. But it would take time, and the enemy would search harder now. As the jungle slept, Blaine and Velshara sat side by side. She spoke of her fall, how she had refused a marriage alliance to a tyrant, how she had fled with the cub growing inside her, how exile had turned to survival, how she had lost everything except her soul. He, too, told her about Earth, about his sister, about the war that never ended, and how he had only signed up as a mechanic. He was never meant to be a hero. Velshara leaned against him. "You are one now." In the sky above, more ships arrived. but not for rescue. A full fleet. Blaine stood, heart racing. Velshara rose slowly beside him. The enemy had sent everyone now, and they knew exactly where she was. But this time, she wasn't alone, and neither was he. Rain poured in heavy sheets outside the cave, but inside the air was tenser than ever. Darren sat close to the fire, one hand on his chest, the other resting near his rifle. Across from him, Tazuri leaned against the stone wall, her golden eyes never blinking, her claws loosely curled near her side. Between them, silence lingered like a living creature, full of unspoken questions and dangerous truths. The cub, Yilu, lay asleep near Darren's leg, his tiny head resting on the human's boot. The gesture was innocent, but the meaning behind it was not. Tazuri had seen it, felt it. Yilu had chosen. The child of her blood, born of war and instinct, had found warmth in the arms of a fragile, fleshy alien, the same species that had once bombed her homeworld. Tazuri wasn't sure whether to claw Darren's throat out or trust him. "You smell afraid," she said, her voice calm but low and deep like a storm waiting to break. "I'm not," Darren lied, trying to keep his hand steady as he poured her a cup of heated water. "You are. Not of me. Not anymore." She tilted her head, almost like a feline watching a twitching mouse. "You're afraid of what you're becoming." Darren chuckled bitterly. "Yeah? And what's that?" "Mine." The word hit him harder than a bullet. She didn't smile. She didn't tease. She said it like a statement. A fact already decided by something greater than either of them. He looked away, his jaw tightening. "You think you own me?" "I think you already stopped seeing me as a monster," she whispered. "And that frightens you more than my claws." A gust of wind howled outside, lightning flashed, and for a moment, Darren saw something flicker in her gaze. Loneliness. Not power, not pride, but deep, ancient loneliness. She had lost people too. She wasn't just a seductress or a predator. She was a mother, a warrior, a woman with scars that ran deeper than skin. "You lost someone in the war," Darren finally said. Tazuri turned away, shadows dancing across her furred face. "My mate, my sister, half my unit. I stopped counting after the 10th burial." Darren nodded slowly. "I lost a brother. Iraq. Then my partner. Cancer. After that, I stopped connecting. Didn't see the point anymore." They both sat quietly for a moment, not as enemies, not even as species, but as two broken things trying to remember what it felt like to be whole. Outside, the storm softened. Inside, something shifted. Tazuri stood and walked toward him, her movements smooth but no longer threatening. She crouched near the fire, her eyes level with his. "I don't understand humans. You burn so fast, so bright, and yet you offer kindness even when your world turns to ash." Darren met her gaze. "That's what keeps us going, even when everything else fails." A long pause passed. Then Tazuri did something unexpected. She held out her hand. A warrior's hand. Clawed, calloused, dangerous, but extended in peace. "A pact," she said. "You protect my cub, I protect you, until this world decides to kill us both." Darren looked at her hand. He didn't shake it. Instead, he reached out and gripped her wrist, tight and strong, the old soldier's way. "Deal," he said. And in that moment, the fire flared. Yilu stirred and smiled in his sleep, but just as quickly, a howl rose in the distance. Not a storm, not the wind, something else. Tazuri's ears perked. Her tail lashed once behind her. Darren immediately checked his rifle. "What was that?" he asked. She stood up in a flash, sniffing the air. Her voice dropped into a hiss. "Hunter's, not mine, not yours." Darren's stomach turned. "Then whose?" Tazuri bared her teeth. "The ones who trade flesh, who saw the crash from orbit and came sniffing for prey." Darren grabbed his pack. "They want Yilu?" "No," Tazuri whispered. "They want me." She turned and looked him dead in the eye. "And if you stay, they'll want you too." For a moment, Darren hesitated. He could leave. He could take Yilu, run through the mountain pass, find another outpost, another evac. He didn't owe her anything. But his hand brushed the sleeping cub's fur. The little alien purred, curling closer to him. He looked back up at Tazuri, heart pounding. "I made a pact," he said quietly, "and I don't break my word." Tazuri blinked slowly, almost in disbelief, then nodded once. "Then come," she growled, pulling a hidden blade from beneath the firewood. "We hunt before we are hunted." Outside, the howling grew louder. The night wasn't done yet, and neither were they. Jace stood before the throne of flame. Behind him, the jungle boiled with smoke and screams. Above him, the sky had cracked open with warships from 3 systems. In front of him stood a goddess in armor, breathing like a beast on the edge of breaking. Leora, the tigress queen. But this wasn't about her anymore. It was about the cub clinging to his leg, and the war they had started by mistake. The Empress of the Vrakai had finally revealed herself. Not Leora, but her mother. Older, colder, draped in obsidian scales and gold rings, voice thick with ancient venom. "You defiled our bloodline," she hissed. "You made my daughter weak." Jace, bloodied and coughing, straightened his back. "I made her feel. That's not weakness, that's evolution." Behind him, Leora growled, holding the shattered remains of her ceremonial spear. Her body was torn, her claws trembling from fatigue, but her eyes never left him. Not even now, not even after the Empress declared him enemy of the crown. Not even after the cub had been declared contaminated. And not even after Leora had been ordered to kill him, herself. "Obey," the Empress commanded. "Kill the human, or the child dies." The Vrakai soldiers dragged the cub forward, trembling, confused, a line of red trailing from his wounded leg. His little eyes searched for his mother, and her eyes shifted between her child and her lover. Jace stepped forward. "Let him go." "No," the Empress spat. "He bears your scent. You think you've saved him? You've doomed him." Jace dropped the blaster from his hip and raised both hands. "I never meant for this to happen. I just gave a hungry child food. You broke a covenant older than your species," she snapped. The soldiers around him raised their weapons. Leora stepped between them. Everyone froze. She stood, shoulders squared, arms outstretched, shielding both the cub and the human. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the air like thunder. "Touch him, and I will kill every last one of you." The Empress's laughter was cold. "You would shed royal blood for this mongrel?" Leora turned slowly to face her mother, and what she said next shattered the royal chamber like a glass cage breaking from within. "He is no mongrel. He is mine." The battle that followed wasn't fought with weapons. It was fought with truths. Leora refused the throne. She broke the binding oath. She chose exile, not as punishment, but as freedom. Jace didn't ask her to stay. He just offered his hand. And to the horror of half her people and the silent joy of the other half, she took it. They fled into the ruins of the sky. Warships followed, but something strange happened in the chaos. The Vrakai soldiers, one by one, began to hesitate. Some of them remembered the cub's laughter. Some had seen Jace protect him, not as property, but as family. And some had heard Leora weep for a life not yet born. The resistance spread like wildfire, not loud, just quiet refusal. Until the Empress found herself alone on HFY, her throne of flame. Years passed. They didn't live in palaces. They lived in silence, deep in the overgrown moons of a forgotten system. Leora hunted with claws dulled from age. Jace planted food with hands calloused by peace. The cub, now a fierce young warrior with mismatched eyes and too many questions, called them both by names they never thought they'd hear: mother, father. And when strangers stumbled into their world, looking for a war or a miracle, they found neither. They found a legend. The story of a starving cub, a forbidden love, and a woman who roared against an empire. But legends rarely die quietly. One night, as Jace stood beneath the red moons, watching the stars shift, he felt it again. A whisper in the sky, a ship, old, scarred, familiar. He looked back at the house they had built, at the woman curled in the hammock, at the boy sleeping with his hand still on his blade, and he smiled. Because peace wasn't safety, it was choice, and they had finally chosen each other. He had fed a starving alien cub and earned a family the stars would never forget.